Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Obsidian Anubis, and I'm back with another 9th Age battle report for the new year. And this time, Saurian Ancients versus Dread Elves, 4,500 points, and yes, this is 2.0 beta. Alright, so my opponent brought a Hydra. You can see the new Hydra there that they got over Christmas break. You can also see the lovely new green grass mat that we got from Frontline Gaming. It's amazing. I highly recommend them. In front of the Hydra is a Repeater Auxiliary group, 10 Auxiliary with a Musician. Next to them are 5 Dark Acolytes with the Wizard Conclave. Next to them is my opponent's General, Prince on Dragon with the Crown of the Wizard and the Amulet of Spite. Next to that is a group of, I think, 30 or so Dread Judges with Full Command and the Blood Banner. A second group of Repeater Auxiliary. And then I think 20 Corsairs with paired weapons, 10 more Auxiliary, a Captain BSB on a Mana Core with the Midnight Cloak, and yes, I know it's just a figure on a white piece of paper. We've ordered the new model, it is somewhere in the mail, and we'll probably get here in a month. But we wanted to go ahead and start playing with it. And then 5 more Dark Acolytes with the Wizard Conclave. And so I decided to switch it up for the new year. I decided not to play my regular Orcs and Goblins or Empire, but this time I'm playing Saurian Ancients. That's right. So on the far right, I have 3 Ramphadons. To the left of them, I have 30 Saurus Warriors with the the Serpent Totem and Spears. To the left of them, I have a block of, I think, 25 or 26 Skink Braves with Full Command and the Tree Frog Banner. And with them, I have a Hokulani, which is my Skink Priest of Druidism with the Heirloom Staff. And that's right, my Lizardmen are Hawaiian. Behind them, I have Lulana Na. He's a Skink Chief, BSB, with the Rod of Battle, and he actually also has the +1 Siphon magic item. I forgot what it's called. And then to the left, I have 24 Temple Guard with the Razor Banner. With them is my General, Hohukano. He is a Saurus Warlord with this Taurosaur Helm and the Great Weapon, although I guess the Taurosaur Helm isn't a helm anymore. It's whatever the Taurosaur Blessing is. In front of him, I have 12 Skink Hunters. And then over here on my far left, I have a Taurosaur with a Great Bow, a Salamander, 12 more Skink Hunters, and Chameleons in the field. So this is what the battlefield looked like for deployment. You can see it's just a basic battle line. And then we played Spoils of War. So that's where you have the 3 objectives, which are scattered throughout the center. You can see 2 of them in this picture. One is by the Chameleons, the other one's by the tape measure. We just use the little gold coins here as markers. The third one is behind the hill. So for spells, I have Healing Waters, I have Oaken Throne, I have Entwining Roots, I have Summer Growth, and I have Spark of Creation. I don't remember what spells my opponent got, but I know he messed it up because we thought the Wizard, Crown of the Wizard made you a Wizard Adept, which I thought was reasonable for 80 points. But it only makes you a Wizard Apprentice, so you're going to get 1 spell, and it has to be the first level spell. So I don't think we're going to be using that magic item anytime soon after this. So anyways, my opponent actually dropped first and wanted me to go first, so I could move in range. So we went with Saurian Ancient, turn 1. Alright, so I moved up my Skinks, more or less. My Saurus Warriors did move up, but not as aggressively. They're kind of more of a secondary wave. I wanted to keep it back. Here's my right flank. You can see the third objective now. My Ramphadons moved out to the right. I didn't want to get in charge range, so I didn't have to make a frenzy test, and I didn't want to make sure my opponent could not charge me with the Dark Acolytes. I've never played against them, so I'm not really sure how bad or how mean they can be. So I just wanted to kind of give a wide berth. Other than that, my magic was insignificant. I got up Oaken Throne, which I had up for the rest of the game, but other than that, no other magic was significant. So that brings us to Dread Elves, turn 1. So on the left flank, my opponent moved up the Hydra and pivoted the Repeater Auxiliary. And then over here in the center, didn't really do too much moving. Just kind of reformed the Corsairs to kind of face my Ramphadons if they came in. You can see my opponent's BSB moved out to the flank, which I thought was a mistake. If it was just a lone character on a Mana Core, that would have been fine. But the fact that there was a BSB made it that mostly nobody got the reroll. You can also see the Dark Acolytes moved up and moved relatively close to my Ramphadons. I think this was another mistake by my opponent. He moved so that they could be seen by my Ramphadons, so it was an easy charge for me next turn. In magic phase, my opponent did manage, or sorry, probably shooting. My opponent did manage to kill off 6 of my skink braves. You can also see that some of my skink hunters have been killed. My opponent actually charged them with the second unit of dark acolytes, which you can see there. I stand and shot and killed 1, and then my opponent killed 5, and I broke from combat. But he was unable to, or I don't think he chased me. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient, turn 2. So over here on the right, I did just as I said. I charged my Ramphadons and my Sarswayers and ping-ponged the Dark Acolytes and caught them with my Ramphadons, so got them off the board, which is a pretty pricey unit to throw away as chaff. Over here on the left, I charged the Dark Acolytes with, I think, with my Skink Braves. My opponent fled to the left, where you can see where they are now, and then I redirected into the one of the repeater auxiliary, so I'd be heading in the right direction, and I failed that charge. You can see I moved up my left, my chameleons, my skinks, and my salamander just to start taking shots at the Hydra. So all 3 of them, their target is the Hydra. So this just shows that left flank a little bit more. So my Tower Sword did not charge those Dark Acolytes. They are currently fleeing, and I just moved within an inch of them. Here's over on my right flank. Yeah, not much. You can see how I kind of moved up and ping-ponged my opponent. So that brings us to Dread Elves turn 2. I did manage to put, I think, a couple wounds on the Hydra. I think it's missing 2 wounds now. It moved up relatively aggressively, wanting to get in combat before it gets shot to pieces, which I can't blame it. And my opponent rallied the Dark Acolytes, which is just kind of there serving as chaff. Over here on the left flank, you can see my opponent moved up the Dragon, charged my Skink Braves with the 2 units of repeater auxiliary. This wasn't a bad move by my opponent, but I think my opponent kind of handicapped themselves at the beginning by putting all the troops behind the auxiliary, so they were kind of trapped. So this was the best way for them to get out by charging the auxiliaries out. After combat, my opponent ended up getting the Healing Waters because they had Druidism for those spells on one of the 2 units of repeater auxiliary. So I targeted the other one. You can see it in the picture. It's actually behind the dragon. I killed, I think, 4 or 5. They broke and fled, but the other unit held. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient, turn 3. Alright, so for turn 3, I decided not to charge out the Dark Acolytes. I decided just to kind of use my opponent's chaff as chaff for myself. So I just kind of reoriented my skinks, moved my Tower Sword so he couldn't get a charge by the Hydra, and then moved up my Tower Sword. So if my opponent wanted to charge my Temple Guard with the Hydra, I would take that. Especially after a shooting phase where I could hopefully take off a few more wounds. Over here, I declared a longbow charge with my Serpent Warriors into the Corsairs. This was probably a mistake, especially given the new rules for tailing charges, because you become, I don't want to say disoriented, but you lose a lot of abilities and you get -1 to hit in close combat and a +1 to hit if you're the opponent. So I probably shouldn't have made this charge. I probably should have just moved up, but oh well. I also charged my Ramphadons into the flank of my opponent's BSB. You can see in the top right of this picture. And then I moved my Skink Hunters, my yellow Skink Hunters, as chaff to chaff up the Dread Judges. Over here on the left, between my Skinks and I think my Salamander, actually I think just between my Skinks, I managed to kill the Hydra, take off its last couple wounds, and then my Salamander managed to kill 1 of the Dark Acolytes, but they passed the panic test. In close combat over here, looks like I lost 3 Skink Braves. My opponent probably lost, looks like 1 or 2. I don't remember who won or who lost, but either way, we both stuck around. So that brings us to Dread Elves turn 3, and they brought the pain. So they charged the Star Slayers with the Corsairs and with the Dragon in the flank. That's going to hurt a little bit. I mean, it might hold them up for a couple turns, but I think overall I'm going to lose this fight. They also went ahead and charged my Skink Hunter Chaff to get rid of them, and they rallied the auxiliary repeaters in the top of this picture. In shooting, these Dark Acolytes, which had been playing cat and mouse with my chameleons, shot and killed 2 of my chameleons, and they failed the panic test and are now fleeing away at the moment. And then in close combat, my Skink Braves finally managed to break the Repeater Auxiliary, bringing them down to 3 models. They fled. I gave chase, but I failed. Actually, no, I don't think I did chase because I didn't want to overrun into the Dread Executioners, but my opponent ended up rolling only 2 inches anyways. In close combat over here, yeah, I lost. I had 30, and now I'm down to, what, 5, 10, 15, 18, so I ended up losing 12 Saurus Warriors in 1 round of combat. It was pretty deadly. My opponent did use the breath weapon. Luckily, I was steadfast because my opponent was flying, so it didn't have a rank to disrupt me. So I was steadfast, and we stuck around. Also, over here with the Ramphadons, I managed to put 1 wound on the BSB, but he managed to, I think, kill 1 Ramphadon outright and put a wound on a second, and they broke and fled off the board. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient, turn 4. Alright, so for turn 4, I think I charged my Skink Braves into Repeater just to get them out of the way, and they fled away. And then I chose not to redirect because I didn't want, like I said, don't want to go into the Dread Judges. This also got me out of line of sight of the Dread Judges, which was what I needed. I moved up my second group of Skink Hunters to chaff up the Dread Executioners, or Dread Judges, excuse me, because really I don't have an answer for them at this moment. The size of the unit is too large for me to take on even with my Temple Guard. If I did, I'd just end up losing my Temple Guard before I could do anything. So I really need to whittle them down with shooting before I can take them into combat. Over here on the left, my opponent moved the Dark Acolytes behind my army, so I just started chasing it with my Salamander, and then I managed to do 2 wounds to it, although I do believe he passed his panic test. So that brings us to Dread Elves turn 4. Alright, so I didn't show a picture of this last turn. We just basically ground. My opponent didn't do great last turn, but did peel off a few. And then this was actually before combat, and then after combat on my opponent's turn, you can see I broke. I lost another rank and a half. My opponent's dragon decided not to give chase, and the 3 remaining Corsairs did give chase. So I did manage to kill the Corsairs, but with the dragon I ended up losing that combat, which probably wasn't a very good trade. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient turn 5. I failed to rally my Saurus Warriors, so they continued to fling. Also, you see the number of tokens. We generated a number of these tokens with thanks to Aegon from the Highborn Elves on the 9th Age forum. He generated the designs and how to generate them. So they're basically just 1-inch designs that you then put an epoxy half-circle sticker on it, basically, and so it gives them a nice shine, and we've been using them quite a bit for Veil tokens, and then also for marking whenever we get spells off. So over here, I ended up charging, my opponent ended up charging the Dread Judges, excuse me, into the Skink Hunters last turn and wiping them out. So this turn I countercharged with my Temple Guard and my Tower Soar. I also charged my Skink Braves into my opponent's 3 rallied Repeater Auxiliary. My BSB is actually not in combat. I just flew him on the other side so that my opponent couldn't charge him with the dragon. This is what it looks like before combat, and this is what it looks like after combat. You do see I managed to wipe out most of the unit. Unfortunately, my opponent wasn't an automatic break, and my opponent ended up rolling 2 1s for the break test, so rallied, or didn't break. In the top right of this picture, I managed to also get some growth off on my skinks and brought back a number of skinks. And wipe out the Repeater Auxiliary and just reformed so that if the BSB decided to come in, he'd be coming in my front. So that brings us to Dread Elves turn 5, and my opponent actually decided to throw both of them into the combat with the Dread Judges and the Temple Guard. So my opponent's BSB and General went first, and between the pair of them, they took all but 1 wound off the Tower Soar. My opponent's Executioners went next, or sorry, Dread Judges went next. The one that was in base contact with the Saurus Warrior, with the Tower Soar, ended up putting the last wound and killing the Tower Soar. And then the other 2 just attacked Temple Guard, which I easily wiped them out on my turn because I was last. So at the end of combat, it ended up looking like this. My opponent overran into my flank, and then I reformed to face him head-on. So that brings it to Saurian Ancient turn 6. So on turn 6, I did manage to rally these Saurus Warriors, so that was good, as they hold a number of points. You can see that my opponent has the Corsairs that have picked up that 1 token. The other token is held by my Temple Guard, and the third token to the left of this picture is held by nobody. So this is what it looks like before combat, and this is what it looks like after combat. I took a definite beating. My general and his BSB on a challenge, or a duel, excuse me. I put 1 wound on him, he put 1 wound on me. My Temple Guard managed to put 1 wound on the dragon, but you can definitely see I lost combat, but my guys are stubborn and stuck. So I'm going just to Dread Elves turn 6, and this is the one picture I have because this is after combat. I have all but one. I lost all but 1 Temple Guard. I have 1 Temple Guard remaining, which is fantastic because he holds the unit, the token, and my general because it's stubborn. And my general now has 2 wounds on him, and I think the dragon is fully healed because my opponent got off healing waters or something on his turn. And the BSB still just has 1 wound on. So this is where the game ended. Had we continued, I think my opponent definitely would have blown through this unit and ended up winning. But luckily the game stopped here, so I ended up saving half my Temple Guard, the token, and my general. So we ended up having only a difference of 449 points, which is a 11-9 victory. So a slight victory for the Saurian Ancients. But yeah, this was my first battle report of 2nd edition. We've played a number of 2nd edition battles for playtesting purposes only, but this was the first time I've played Star Warriors since the 9th Age, and you know, I enjoyed them. I usually play against them, and so I've gotten kind of really good at how to like angle and how to defeat them. But I've always enjoyed playing Lizardmen, so it was really fun. And actually, I think we're going to be playing another game this weekend. Well, I'll be playing the same army, and my opponent will be playing a slightly tweaked version of their army. But yeah, definitely look forward. I hope to get you guys more videos on a more regular basis than I did in the previous year, but we'll see how things go. If you guys saw any mistakes or have any questions, please don't hesitate to point those out. If you guys have any other things you'd like to see, or if you have any questions, put those in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and as always, game on!